The moon hung low in the night sky, its pale light casting shadows over the sprawling USA headquarters perched on the edge of the Pacific. Inside, Dr. Elena Ramirez sat at her console, her fingers flying across a holographic keyboard. Streams of data poured across her screen, illuminating her focused expression. Tonight's routine monitoring felt anything but ordinary. Something was off. "Elena, you've been staring at those readings for hours. Anything worth losing sleep over?" Captain Amir Singh's voice broke through the quiet hum of the control room. "Maybe," Elena muttered, zooming in on a cluster of anomalies near Earth's outer orbit. "Unidentified objects, all converging on the same trajectory. No signatures. No broadcasts. It's as if they don't want to be seen." Singh frowned, stepping closer to her console. "Could be meteors. Or classified projects from another agency." She shook her head. "Too fast for meteors. Too coordinated for anything human." Her voice was steady, but her stomach churned. Before Singh could respond, an alarm blared. Red lights bathed the room as the AI system issued a stark warning. "Unidentified vessels approaching Earth's atmosphere. Impact imminent." Elena's pulse quickened. "Patch me into the global network," she ordered. Singh nodded, issuing commands to the operators. Seconds later, screens flickered to life, revealing the faces of world leaders and top scientists. "Elena," a voice demanded, "what's going on?" "We're under attack," she replied, her words precise. 27 vessels, all entering the atmosphere simultaneously. Their size and speed suggest advanced propulsion systems far beyond anything we've encountered. As she spoke, live footage streamed in from satellites. Metallic crafts the size of skyscrapers pierced through Earth's skies, their surfaces shimmering with an unnatural sheen. Then came the first strike. In Tokyo, a ship hovered over Shinjuku, releasing a pulse that disintegrated buildings in its path. Screams echoed over the feed before it cut to static. Similar reports flooded in. New York, London, Mumbai, all were under siege. "God help us," someone whispered, the terror palpable. Elena silenced the room. "We need answers, not panic. These ships didn't come uninvited. Something about Earth attracted them." Singh leaned over her shoulder. "Let's focus on defense. Can we establish contact?" She shook her head. "No signals received. Either they're ignoring us, or they've already decided we're expendable." Another feed lit up, a closer view of one of the ships. Its surface rippled as a hatch opened, unleashing a swarm of smaller drones. They spread like locusts, scanning and dismantling everything in their path. Elena's voice hardened. "We need data. Get me a live uplink from every sensor we have. If there's a weakness, we'll find it." Amid the chaos, Singh stepped outside to relay orders to the military. Elena stayed rooted at her station, her mind racing. These weren't random attacks. The precision, the lack of communication, it all pointed to a calculated plan. Suddenly, the feed from New York reconnected. On screen, a reporter stood amidst the carnage, his voice trembling. "We don't know what they want, but their targets are strategic. Communications hubs, power grids, transportation networks. They're dismantling our infrastructure." "Strategic dismantling," Elena murmured, her mind latching onto the phrase. "They're preparing for control, not destruction." Singh returned, his jaw tight. "The military's engaged, but our weapons are useless against their shields. Nuclear strikes are a last resort. We won't get to that point," Elena said firmly. "Their shields, there must be a frequency or energy source we can disrupt. If we figure that out, we stand a chance." Singh gave her a skeptical look but didn't argue. Hours stretched into the early morning as Elena worked tirelessly. Her fingers ached, but she barely noticed. Her team analyzed every intercepted signal, every pattern in the invaders' movements. Finally, a breakthrough. "Got something," she announced, her voice cutting through the fatigue in the room. "Their shields rely on an oscillating energy field. It's adaptive, but if we can overload their modulation matrix, it might destabilize them temporarily." Singh's eyes lit up with hope. How long do we have? Not long. We need a coordinated strike to test the theory, and we need it now. Singh relayed the plan to military command while Elena refined the calculations. Every second felt like an eternity. As the first coordinated strike launched, the control room held its breath. On screen, a barrage of missiles targeted a single ship. For a moment, the shield shimmered and wavered. One missile penetrated, striking the hull and causing a fiery explosion. Cheers erupted, but Elena remained somber. It worked, but they'll adapt. This won't hold for long. Across the globe, resistance forces took the victory as a rallying cry. For the first time since the invasion began, humanity struck back. Yet, the triumph was short-lived. The Empire retaliated with a show of force. Ships deployed suppression fields, cutting power to entire regions. Communication lines faltered. Elena's console flickered, then went dark. "Backup systems online!" she barked. The emergency lights cast shadows over Singh's face as he turned to her. "We've bought time, but we're still outmatched." Elena nodded grimly. "This was just the beginning. They underestimated us. Next time, we'll be ready." Her words hung in the air as the room fell silent, the weight of the challenge ahead pressing on every soul. Humanity had taken its first step into a war it never sought, but it was a step toward survival and hope. The sun had barely risen when the Emergency Council convened in the underground command bunker, hidden deep beneath the USA headquarters. Around the table sat representatives from the world's remaining governments, military commanders, and leading scientists. A heavy silence blanketed the room, broken only by the hum of air filters and the faint tremors from the battles raging above. Dr. Elena Ramirez stood at the head of the table, her voice steady despite the exhaustion etched on her face. "We're facing an enemy far superior in technology, but they're not infallible. Last night, we exploited a vulnerability in their shields. It's not much, but it's a start." General Liang, a grizzled veteran from China's armed forces, leaned forward. "That was one ship, Doctor. A single hit before they adapted. We need something more decisive." "Agreed," said Captain Amir Singh. "But brute force won't win this war. Their shields are dynamic, self-repairing. We need to outthink them, not outgun them." Elena nodded. "Their strategy is calculated. They dismantle our infrastructure to weaken us without total annihilation. That precision could be their undoing. We've analyzed their energy patterns further. If we can disrupt their modulation at multiple points simultaneously, we might destabilize their entire network." President Obasanjo of Nigeria frowned. "And how do we coordinate a global counterattack when their suppression fields are cutting off communications?" Elena gestured to a digital map. "We've developed a workaround. Using hardline networks and low-frequency broadcasts, we can establish secure channels. It's not perfect, but it's enough to synchronize strikes." The room murmured in cautious agreement. Before plans could proceed, a transmission interrupted the meeting. A grainy image of an Imperial ship commander appeared on the central screen. His features were humanoid but eerily perfect, his skin a metallic sheen. "I am Overseer Zorak Thal of the Galactic Dominion," he declared, his voice devoid of emotion but carrying an undeniable weight. "Surrender your world and your lives will be spared. Resist, and extinction is certain. You have 24 hours to comply." The screen went black, leaving the room in stunned silence. Singh broke it. "That wasn't a negotiation. It was a declaration." "And a lie," Elena added. "Their actions speak louder than their words. They won't spare us. We either fight or we die." The council erupted into debate, voices rising in heated arguments. Some called for capitulation, others for all-out war. Elena slammed her hand on the table, silencing them. "Enough," she said, her voice firm. "Fear won't save us. We've already proven they can be hurt. Let's focus on how to hit them harder." The council gradually shifted to action, assigning roles and strategies. Elena returned to her lab, where her team was already working on refining the shield disruption device. Singh followed her in, concern etched on his face. Do you ever stop? He asked, leaning against the doorway. When the world stops needing me, she replied without looking up. Singh smirked faintly. Good answer. But you need to rest at some point, Elena. You're no use to anyone if you collapse. She sighed, finally turning to face him. I'll rest when we're not staring down annihilation. Right now, I need to figure out how to amplify this disruption tech. It's our best shot. He nodded, leaving her to work. Hours passed as the team ran simulations, testing energy thresholds and failure points. By nightfall, they had a prototype ready for field testing. The test site was a barren stretch of land near a downed Imperial drone. Soldiers and scientists gathered as Elena and her team set up the device, a sleek, cylindrical apparatus bristling with cables and emitters. Ready? Singh asked, standing beside her. As ready as we'll ever be, Elena replied, her hands trembling slightly as she activated the device. A low hum filled the air, rising in pitch as the emitters powered up. The nearby drone flickered, its shielding momentarily destabilizing. Cheers erupted, but Elena raised a hand. Not yet. We need sustained output. The hum grew louder, and the drone's shield collapsed entirely, its metallic surface sizzling under the focused energy. The soldiers exchanged looks of astonished relief. It works, Singh said, his voice tinged with awe. For now, Elena replied. Scaling this up to target a capital ship will be another challenge entirely. The victory was short-lived. Overhead, a ship appeared, larger than the others. Its surface pulsed with energy, and within moments, it released a massive suppression wave. The prototype sputtered and failed, leaving them exposed. Fall back! Singh shouted, pulling Elena behind cover as the soldiers opened fire. Their bullets ricocheted harmlessly off the ship's shields. Elena's mind raced. We can't run every time they counter. We have to keep adapting, like they do. Singh grimaced. Easy to say when you're not staring down a death beam. As the ship's weapons charged, a sudden explosion rocked the ground. A fighter jet streaked overhead, dropping experimental ordnance that momentarily distracted the ship. Singh seized the moment to order a retreat. Back in the bunker, morale was low. The device had proven effective but fragile, and the Empire's countermeasures were relentless. Elena sat in silence, her head in her hands. Singh approached cautiously. We didn't lose. We learned. And next time, we'll be ready for their suppression waves. She looked up, her eyes tired but resolute. We don't have much time to learn, Amir. If we don't break their shields and coordinate globally soon, there won't be a next time. He placed a reassuring hand on her shoulder. We've come this far. We'll figure it out. As the night wore on, Elena redoubled her efforts, refining the device to withstand suppression waves. The stakes had never been higher, but neither had her determination. Humanity was battered but not broken. The resistance was taking shape, and with each step forward, they grew stronger. The air inside the bunker was heavy with tension. The countdown on the central screen ticked down relentlessly, 17 hours until the Empire's ultimatum expired. Yet, amidst the urgency, the resistance felt a glimmer of hope. Dr. Elena Ramirez's shield disruption device was no longer a prototype, it was now a weapon. Elena adjusted her headset, addressing the team gathered around her. We've identified the largest Imperial ship as their command vessel. If we take it down, their entire network might collapse. It's a gamble, but it's the only chance we've got. General Liang stood beside her, his arms crossed. The device works on smaller ships, but this is a fortress. Can it handle that kind of scale? We've recalibrated it for higher output and synchronized it with ground-based emitters. If the plan works, it'll punch through their shields long enough for our strike teams to hit the core reactor. Elena explained, her voice firm despite the weight of the plan. Singh nodded. What's our fallback if it fails? Elena met his gaze. It won't fail. Silence fell over the room as everyone processed the enormity of what lay ahead. Then General Liang spoke. We'll deploy in 3 hours. Everyone prepare. The command ship loomed in the stratosphere, its immense bulk casting an ominous shadow over the Pacific. Elena watched its movements on the tactical screen, every inch of her body taut with anticipation. From her position in the mobile command vehicle, she coordinated with teams stationed across the globe. Activating disruption fields in 5, Elena announced, her voice cutting through the comms. 4, 3, 2, now. A deep hum resonated as ground-based emitters came to life. Waves of energy rippled upward, converging on the Imperial vessel. For a moment, nothing happened. Then, the ship's shields flickered, their usual impenetrable glow dimming. "It's working!" someone shouted over the comms. "Focus!" Elena snapped. "This is just the first phase." From hidden launch sites, fighter jets and drones streaked toward the now exposed command ship. Missile after missile struck its hull, sending explosions rippling across its surface. The control room erupted in cheers. "Direct hits on the outer hull," a technician confirmed. Elena allowed herself a brief smile. "Phase 2, strike teams, move in. Target the core reactor." In response, heavily armed dropships ascended toward the ship, carrying elite soldiers from every major nation. One of them carried Singh, who had insisted on leading the ground operation personally. "Elena," his voice crackled over the radio. "We're approaching entry points. Keep those shields down, or this mission's over." "You've got it," she replied, her fingers flying over her console. The first dropship docked on the ship's surface, cutting into its hull with a laser torus. Inside, the corridors pulsed with an eerie blue light, casting long shadows. Singh led his team forward, their footsteps muffled by the ship's alien metal. "Stay sharp," he murmured, scanning the area. Suddenly, the lights dimmed, and a shrill alarm echoed through the ship. From the walls emerged humanoid drones, their bodies sleek and weaponized. "Contact!" Singh barked, firing the first shot. The team engaged in a brutal firefight, their human ingenuity pitted against the Empire's cold efficiency. Singh's voice came through the comms, breathless but determined. "We're encountering resistance, but we're pushing forward." "How are those shields holding?" Elena checked the readings. "Still stable, but the emitters are overheating. You need to hurry." "Copy that," Singh replied. As the ground teams advanced, Elena monitored the ship's energy patterns. A new signature appeared, a concentrated power surge in the ship's core. "Singh, watch out. They're diverting power to the reactor. It could be a fail-safe or a trap," Singh finished grimly. "Understood. Moving fast." His team reached the core chamber, a vast, circular room pulsating with energy. In its center hovered a massive, glowing sphere, the reactor. Surrounding it were dozens of drones, guarding it like sentinels. "Take out those drones!" Singh ordered. The battle was fierce, the air thick with the sound of gunfire and explosions. Singh ducked behind cover, firing strategically while shouting commands. One by one, the drones fell, but not without cost. Several soldiers lay injured or worse. "Elena," Singh called, his voice urgent. "We're at the reactor, but we need a way to disable it." Elena's mind raced. "The reactor's field is harmonized with the ship's shields. If you disrupt it, the entire vessel will destabilize." "Define destabilize," Singh replied, glancing at the pulsing energy. "It'll explode. You'll have minutes to evacuate." Singh sighed. "Got it. Setting charges now." As the team planted explosives around the reactor, the ship began to shake violently. The Empire wasn't going down without a fight. "Elena, the ship's deploying countermeasures," a technician reported. "I see it," she replied. "Rerouting power to the emitters. Keep those shields down." With the charges in place, Singh's team sprinted back toward their dropship. The ship's corridors twisted and groaned as the reactor's instability spread. "Detonating in 30 seconds, Singh called over the comms. "Get ready for a big bang." The dropships launched just as the reactor detonated. A blinding explosion lit up the sky, and the command ship began to disintegrate, its debris raining down over the ocean. Back in the bunker, cheers erupted as the tactical screen showed the ship's destruction. Elena exhaled, her shoulders sagging with relief. Sing? She called over the comms. Alive and kicking, he replied, his voice triumphant. She allowed herself a rare smile. Good work, Captain! The command ship's destruction sent shockwaves through the Imperial fleet. Without its coordination, their remaining ships faltered, their precision attacks turning chaotic. Resistance forces around the globe seized the opportunity, striking back with renewed vigor. Elena watched the updates flood in, hope blossoming in her chest. For the first time since the invasion began, humanity wasn't just surviving, they were winning. But even as the tide turned, she knew the war was far from over. The Empire would regroup, adapt, and return stronger. Yet, in that moment, one thing was clear: humanity had proven they were not to be underestimated.